Hey folks, back with another tutorial or how-to video here for you. This is my Olight T10. This is the single CR123 cell flashlight that I carry at work. A really cool light. I'm really happy with the comfort of it, how it carries. You can see it's kind of got some texturing on the side, which is actually my only complaint with this light, is the texturing is really smooth and doesn't give you a very good grip when you want to change modes. But typically I just leave it in the max mode. I think it's the max or the high mode all the time. So that's not really too much of a problem for me. This video, of course, as you can see from the title, is going to be a tutorial on how to remove and replace that little tail cap switch boot or pad that's at the end. Now when you first buy this, and here's the package that comes in, there's the box. When you first buy the Olight T10, it's going to come with a black boot installed at the end there so that it matches. And I switched it out for this blue one that comes in there. It actually looks white right now in this light, but let me shine another light on it and I'll kind of show you how it glows. See how it changes color? It's glowing blue. Well, I thought that was kind of a cool effect, so I thought that would be nice to add this little pad on there. But in actuality, because the light's always in my pocket, and because I don't shine the back of the flashlight with a second flashlight before I use it, I really haven't found too much use for this glowing pad. And while it functions identically to the black one that comes in the package, it just doesn't match as well. And you guys probably already know I'm kind of funny about colors and stuff like that. So I've had it on here for a really long time and I've just been too lazy to change it back after I decided I didn't like it. And I thought this would be the perfect excuse to make a video, show you how I removed it from here in case anyone else has been struggling with this. I know I did. I kind of had to, I looked up online some lights that were similar, and then I kind of went at the rest of it myself to get this portion out of here and to swap that out. So it's kind of a pain to do if you don't have the right tools handy, and that is. And I just never got around to it till now. But let's go ahead and take this apart and we'll check it out together. And if you've got this light or one similar, hopefully this will help you do this same process. So let me show you real quick in the package what it comes with. It comes with a little sheath, which I've never used, and then you get, I think there's an extra O-ring or two in here. Yeah, you can see those. And then originally it would come with the little blue pad inside. And of course, since mine is swapped, I'm going to be putting back in the little factory black pad. And that's about what that'll look like. So the first thing you're going to want to do is unscrew the rear cap. There's actually three pieces here: the rear piece, this center tube, and then the emitter at the end. That's the back of the CR123 battery there. And then you'll see this little portion inside. And see those two little holes on either side of that metal ring? We're going to need to spin those out. There are a number of tools that you can use to do this. I've read that people have used tweezers or really thin-tipped needle nose pliers. What I ended up having to use, I've got this little multi-screwdriver set that I got from Harbor Freight years and years ago. You can actually see one's missing and one has a broken tip. You need to replace this. If you guys have a Harbor Freight near you, or Fox Tools, one of those little cheapy import tool stores, these are a really great buy from there. I think I maybe paid $4 for this whole kit. It comes in this little case. So what I ended up doing is taking two of the smaller screwdrivers, one slotted and one Phillips head. Now the end of it doesn't really matter, but really what you want is that the tip, the shaft of those drivers, to fit within these two little holes. Now the first time I took this ring out, it was extremely tight, and yours might be the same way. So if you were going at this for the first time, you might really think that it's not coming out. See how I fit the tips of those into those holes? And then what I'll do, once I get those all the way seated in there, see how I've kind of crossed the two. You'll turn these drivers until they'll hit that point where they're touching each other from the pressure, and then you simply turn the cap or the drivers until that ring unscrews, and hopefully you can kind of see it coming in closer and closer towards the tip. Now once it's loosened a bit, you can actually set one driver aside and then just kind of turn, almost like a stirring motion, and I'm just moving that counterclockwise until that ring comes loose. So you'll have this little threaded ring, and the part with the holes, you're going to want to put this back in the same way, and you can use this video for reference, but those two little holes obviously are going to stick up. There's no holes on the other side. So that's a pretty quick visual clue as to how that piece goes back in. And then inside here you've got a little rubber ring or washer. That little guy comes out next. And then this piece right here should just come out loose. And again, when I first took this apart on mine, this little piece was kind of stuck in there. But hopefully, with any luck, yours will pop right out. Now if it is a little bit stuck, you can push on the boot at the back. You can click that in to hopefully put a little pressure on this piece to push it out, and then you should be all set. And this will come out all in one piece. You've got a little bit of the circuit board there, and that's the spring that touches the back of your battery, obviously, and then here is your actual switch for your light. So that piece comes out, and then inside you've got this little plastic piece. It's got a squared portion that mates with the base of the switch, and then the sides have two holes, again just like the little metal ring. So again, you're going to take your drivers. You might be lucky and this might be loose enough to take out with just one driver, spinning it like that. Again, mine was extremely tight from the factory, so when I did this for the first time I had to insert the two drivers just like we did on the ring and spin it until it becomes free. And then once it's loose, you can probably even kind of place your thumb in that little squared part and just turn it. Keep turning and turning the tail cap using your thumb to keep that middle piece from spinning freely. You're almost using your thumb as a big clumsy screwdriver. If you have really big index fingers, you could probably tuck your index finger in there and do the same thing. And then that will eventually unscrew, and there's the boot as well. But let me show you what that piece looks like. There's the two holes, and it's threaded. And there's the back of the piece, and this is the piece right here that mates with that little pad, the little boot. And that's all there is to it. And then that's the empty portion on that little back, whatever you want to call it. So once that's emptied out, you're going to take the old boot, obviously. We're done with that for now. Put the replacement boot back on there. In fact, you don't have to put these two pieces together. I'm just showing you how they mate together. But you can actually just put the boot all the way down in the bottom of the light. Squiggle it down in there till it pops back out the end, just like it's supposed to. And then this little piece is going to go back in there. And then again, you can use your thumb or you can use the drivers, whatever's comfortable, to turn this back in there. Now the threads on these lights are really, really thin. You know, they're really narrow threads, and you don't want to cross thread. You don't want to tighten it down to where it feels, you know, like it's catching and jumping over across the threads as you go. So go carefully, go slow, and if it, oh, of course I dropped a driver. Let me grab that. Hang on one second. That thing flew all the way across the floor there. But we got it back. Okay, again, as I was saying, you don't want to cross thread this, especially since this piece is plastic. You don't want to tear it up and ruin it to where it won't seat in here anymore. So just go slow, and if it feels like it's catching, you know, if it feels like it's getting caught up, back it out till it gets towards the top, and then just kind of turn it till, you know, kind of, you'll feel it kind of eventually sit in there once it's in a good spot. What's funny is it wasn't cross-threaded before, but once I started trying to do that to show you, it started to get out of alignment. But eventually you'll get it in place, unless you're like me and just totally bungled it. Just trying to make an example. There it goes. Okay, so you get that piece seated back in there. Again, this is why I wanted to show this on videos. This is kind of a temperamental process. You want to make sure that you've got that in there just right. So you can see I'm holding my drivers in those two little holes, and my little drivers want to jump out. Those holes on the sides aren't that deep, so it might skip away from you a couple times. Just keep turning. Now when it gets down towards the point where it's tightened against that little pad at the back, you kind of want to go gently, like don't tighten it, don't over tighten it, and you'll notice you'll know if you do, one, you might actually crack that piece, which hopefully you'll kind of realize you're hitting some pressure before it gets to that point. But also you can kind of deform the way that the little pad or boot sticks out the back. You can kind of squish it. So if it looks like it's kind of coming out crooked or off to one side, you know, this little thing, if it's kind of doing that sort of action, then you're going to want to back it off probably a half a turn or whatever. So once I get it down to where it feels good and tight, I'm actually going to back it up just a little bit and then gently go to that stopping point. So now I'm comfortable that I've got that down there nice and tight without being too tight. I can see from all angles that the boot is centered, so I'm not over tightening it and deforming this in any way. And then it's just a process of putting everything back in the opposite order. So the next step after putting in that little black plastic spacer is to put in your switch. And it'll really, this should, at least on the Olights, it should go in only one way. You should be able to kind of feel when it's sitting down in there correctly. Having a look over my viewfinder to get a good shot. So that sits in there flat. This little rubber washer is going to go back over the spring, sit down at the bottom, and then we just put our final little ring right back in there. And again, this one you might have to kind of wiggle it a little bit from side to side, make sure that it's sitting in there flush and that you're not cross-threading it. So go gently as you screw it down, and if it seems like it's tightening down funny, if it's too tight and it seems like you're trying to have to force it to get to go back down against the threads, then back it out until it sits flat and then turn it again. And I caught it right on the first try on that one. I tend to find it easier to turn the tail cap itself rather than the drivers, since I'm having to hold them as one unit. And if you use a certain set of pliers that have tips that fit right down in those, you're probably going to have an easier time doing it. There are a couple companies that sell tools actually for this purpose, to tighten that little piece. But you know, save yourself a couple bucks. You probably got a couple things around the house that you could use instead. And again, don't over tighten that. Once it feels like it's getting kind of snug, I would stop. I'd give it a good click, make sure everything looks like it's sitting correctly. And then that's pretty much it. We'll take the back of our flashlight there, push these two ends against each other and tighten. And then you should get a nice tight fit. And in fact, if you have a little bit of a gap, see, I'm seeing a hint of a gap there. So I'm going to open this back up and tighten that last ring down just a little bit more. You can kind of, you'll just be able to sort of tweak it to taste once you get down to this step. Get those in there. A little bit more of a quarter turn. Tighten that down. That looks a little better to my eyes. Test it out. Clicks perfectly. You can see there's no shakiness to the beam. It's, you know, I can move the light and it's still giving me a solid beam. So there's nothing, you know, there's no points of contact that are loose or aren't making a good sturdy connection. So now we've got the original black tail cap or boot piece in there, and this is pretty much back to its little factory design, and I think it matches a little bit better. So I'm going to leave that little blue one out until someday when it tickles my fancy to maybe bring that back in there. But there you go, a little tutorial on how to swap that out on your Olight or similar light. If you've got a Phoenix light, I imagine it's probably very similar. Same with 4.7s. Some steps might be a little bit different, but for the most part that should be able to get you through the process. So there you go. I hope this video helped you out. I hope you found it entertaining, and I will come back to you all with a new video very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.